Hello, and welcome to the Relationship Podcast. I'm your host, Olivia, and last time we had a great conversation with my friend where we talked about friendship during this time as well as social media. And today I am going to read a quote and we're just going to discuss about it. All right, let's begin. I'm sorry for leaving, but I had no choice. It was out of my hands. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I go to my pillow crying at night before falling asleep because the world fails to listen. And I wrote this down yesterday because I realized that in the past, a person went out of my life and it was out of my hands. And even though if I'm not sure if they're sorry for it, part of me is like, why did you leave? And then I realized it was a positive thing that they left my life due to the fact I am mentally much better. And I learned to love myself because they weren't there for me to rely on. And this happened about 4 years ago. So for 4 years, I learned that I need to love myself first in order to even go on with my day and to pursue what I want to pursue. And then the second part of wearing that heart on my sleeve is basically putting others before you and showing how much you care. And it's not always good to do that because if you are mentally unstable or you just don't feel well, focus on yourself. It is okay to focus on yourself. It's okay to put yourself before others. In fact, it's good. It's good to know where you stand. It's good to know how you are personally. Get to know yourself first before you know others, because you will be happier in life because you know where you stand. And by knowing that, you know more of what you like and what you dislike and what you want to be involved in and what you don't. So remember that. In my opinion, it's okay to wear your heart on your sleeve, but don't let it control you. Don't let other people control you. You have to be the one in control of your decisions, not other people. And then onto, I cry into my pillow at night before falling asleep because the world fails to listen. Honestly, the world is corrupt. And yeah, it will fail to listen, but that shouldn't matter because the world, it wants you to be someone that you're not majority of the time because the world honestly doesn't want to see you succeed. So, if the world fails to listen to you, make it a positive because basically what I'm trying to say, just go do what you want to do. Be you. Don't care what the world says. Don't care what the world does. Because you have this expectation in your mind. But it doesn't mean that that expectation is going to happen. And what the expectation I'm talking about is the expectation of how the world will react to you. You have no control of how the world will react to you. What you do have a control of is that dream you want, that future you desire. You could work towards that future, and the world could act completely opposite of how you want it to. But with you going after your dream, going after your purpose, it won't matter what the world says. Because you're doing you. You are doing what you love. And that's all that matters. If you are searching for your purpose, that future you want, my opinion of a way of finding that is 1, get to know yourself. 2, make a connection with God and Jesus. Because by doing so, you find out more about yourself. You find out why you were created, why were you put into the time frame of this part in history, period of history. And by doing so, you find out why you're here. What do I have to do? Why was I put on this earth for a reason at this moment? Because let me tell you, you were born when you were born for a reason. It didn't just happen by coincidence. You're here for a reason, and it all lines up to what God has planned for you. And by finding out what that plan, that purpose is, you could do that by talking to Jesus and to God. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time at the beginning, or it could honestly just be 10 minutes of your day. But it can't be 10 minutes while I'm watching the TV. No, you have to be focused on it. So, go to an area where you won't get distracted, a place where you won't be interrupted. And just talk to God. It may be silence at first, but if you do that and you continue to do that, you will start to hear God more. And sometimes God shows you who He is through different things. You could be writing to Him. Some people, they write nonstop. They just write whatever comes to mind. But before they do that, they pray, God, take my hand and write what you want to write. And then the next day or later that day or whenever, they will read it and they will be like, this is God. But sometimes when you do that, it may not be God. So be careful with that. Make sure you have a clear mind when you do that. Another way God could talk to you is through people in your life, or it's through an action, or maybe the sunset. Honestly, God talks through us in many different ways. You just have to identify, is that God? And then try to figure out what He's trying to tell you. So yeah, go pursue your dream. Alright, you've reached the end of this episode of the Relationship Podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Ritt, and you can find us on Instagram at the.relationshippodcast and on YouTube, The Relationship Podcast. And see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.